everything rests on consistency. And so consistency, right before consistency, is trust. So to get our kids to trust, to open up again, is going to require our consistency and aligning with these higher qualities of ourselves. Everything that we do, as far as we talked about this a lot last time, as far as reaching out, because love sets all things free, that means regardless of what we do, there's no expectation of it, because love is now the fuel that is allowing us to do these things and reach out. And it's constantly doing it from a love state, which just sends it out, releases it, lets it go, doesn't have an expectation, because it's something that we're giving. It's like if you've ever given a gift to someone and they didn't say thank you, or they didn't seem to appreciate it, and you're kind of sitting there going, well, they didn't say thank you. Like, I just gave you a gift. Like, can't you at least say thank you? Well, that has an expectation to it versus really truly being able to give something with love in which there is no expectation. So that's what we're doing. Now, this is so as you do things to reach out, okay, and it's not going to take one thing. It is not, because there needs to be that timeline of consistency. Okay, mine was a year at least. Let's say that all of you are not blocked and know how to reach out to your kids. Mimi, your case is going to be a little bit different. So hold that one just 1 second. Well, maybe not. Let's talk about it. When we send something out and we don't get a response and we sink down, there's something in us that needs, because it's a rejection that now had nothing to do with them, because you were just met with silence. So now that is a signal that there is a wound there, and that needs to be addressed. You want to keep practicing this, understanding that you might have to keep going back to be like, oh, I really had an expectation. I really wanted something. I really needed something. And that doesn't come. And now you find yourself sinking back in. So that just signals there's a wound. Again, has nothing to do with the kids. It's just being activated. It's like that Band-Aid just got torn off again. Okay, then that means the wound wasn't completely healed. That means there's something else there. Okay, so there's potential for still wounding that needs to be addressed while you're creating the momentum. Okay, being consistent with who you are. You're still saying, okay, who am I? You're still trying. I mean, this is a lot in this section to really figure out. And life has a way of always giving you exactly what you need to help you work through this and get to that place that you where you want to be. So, number one thing, consistency. I was estranged from my parents for a very long time. I would say 2 decades. I was probably in my late 30s when my dad just randomly started calling me every Sunday morning. Same time, every Sunday morning, my phone would ring. It was my dad. I mean, we're talking, I had not talked to this man in years, decades. And now I'm in my late 30s. Yeah, because my kids were still relatively young then. So I'm in my late 30s. I got a phone call and I'm pretty sure I didn't answer it the first 3-4 times. Just kept letting it go to voicemail because it was just like, what does he want? I haven't talked to him in years. And I just kept letting it go to voicemail. Okay, so there's an example of just like all of a sudden this inconsistent parent just decides to come back into my life and show up on his timeline, what was good for him, when I was like, where is this coming from? And It never would have occurred to me again, because of as young as I was, it would never have occurred to me, is something wrong? Does he need help? Does he have a health? Would have never occurred to me at that age. 10 years later, yes, but at that age, that never occurred to me. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But he had consistency. So after, I don't know, the fourth, the fifth time of getting that Sunday morning call, I finally picked up. And it was awkward. And hey, kiddo, what's going on? Just like that's something we always did. And I was like, nothing. Waiting for the punchline, kind of. Never came. We kind of had a very awkward conversation about the weather. We always did. Okay, that's all for now. And that was it until the next Sunday morning and the next Sunday morning. I got that phone call every single Sunday morning for the rest of his life. Okay. And it took me weeks to initially even pick it up. That call never deviated off our usual awkward conversation from about the weather. Never. Never. Occasionally he would say, how are the girls? Occasionally. I always sent Christmas cards at that point. Once we started talking, I started sending him Christmas cards. And then, I always had my kids and my dog in my Christmas card. So from then he would say, and how's that bar killer doing? Beside a mini dachshund that was this big. So that's why he would ask about my kids and my dog, because that's all he knew that was in my life. I would just say, fine. I mean, there were never any details or anything else, because it was still a very awkward conversation. So just keeping that in mind, when I think about that today, I think I appreciate that he did that. And had he been really angry and caught, and it was very easy for him to do, he wasn't a very happy person and he smoked and drank a lot. He was in a lot of misery. So had he not done that, I really would never have known him at all later in life. And I would have not ever been the one to go and take care of him. He would have just died and I would have never known. Not that I was still angry or anything else, but I just would have never known. So Sue is absolutely right. We do need to be the ones that reach out to them and say, I'm here. And then whatever that would look like for you in your scenario with your kids. And it could change, just like my daughters did, in an instant. I don't want to be angry anymore. And again, she had a long timeline from me of consistency to where I know she felt safe and confident that there wasn't going to be a come to Jesus meeting, that we didn't have to hash it out, that I wasn't going to hold her feet to the fire. She got to that point to where she said, I can trust her. It feels safe for me to come this far and do this. Okay, and health issues will always be a root cause of level 1. So yes, then you still need to really focus on yourself, self-care, take care of yourself, your healing work. Absolutely. Until you feel strong enough to reach out, then absolutely just don't do that. You will want to focus on yourself. It needs to get to that point to where you really have no reaction to it. There's no gut bad feeling like something's going to happen, or the dread of it, or what if you have the hopeful anticipation again and you're knocked down and you just don't feel like you can handle that. That is not the person who reaches out. It's not. That's the person who continues with the self-care and the healing. Absolutely. How long would somebody spend in level 2 in that anger? Well, safety and security is level 1. And we know that a child spends 18 to 20 years in level 1 at home. And then they go out into the world. Now they're in level 2. That's all about success in the world, working, romantic love, getting married, having a successful family, a successful home life, a successful career. So adulting happens in level 2. It's only moving beyond that when they start to question, there's got to be more than this provincial life. When they find a spiritual practice, perhaps, or a religion. But I do believe that a soul does at some point get to that questioning in their life to where they say, do I really believe this? Are these my beliefs? So there's always that inner reckoning that we do with one another. So forgiveness and where we are right now. Anytime we're waiting for their forgiveness, that's really not a thing. It's always self-forgiveness that needs to be explored or gone into. There's nothing anybody did that's so wrong that would ever be unforgivable. But we believe that about ourselves. We believe that we're fundamentally flawed. Shame, it's the not being good enough, not have done it right. And so if that's what's surfacing, then that's what needs to be addressed always. The grandkids, missing them. That's so understandable. And that's so hard. And last week we talked about, okay, if you do show up in the grandkids' life, then who are you? Now, what's the frequency you're bringing to that? So again, that always goes back to, well, who am I? That goes back to that inner work. And anytime it feels like something is missing, then know that it's you who's missing from your equation. Okay, that higher self. So that's always going to be the place that you go, especially as we're going into the holidays, because the holidays do stir up a lot. Absolutely. From the time that you remember being with the grandkids, Farah, and always being enmeshed with your families and having the grandkids, and Sue missing those grandkids and not having as many around, and Mimi never experiencing them. So again, anytime it feels like something is missing, go there first. Because if you don't, we know what happens. You really start going down that rabbit hole of the shame and the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and if onlys, because you think that it's really the grandkids that are missing as a result of something that you did. But now level 3, it's all about our perception, shifting our perception, seeing everything differently. And that takes practice. Level 3 does take practice.
I have a question. When you said go to the missing part, what do you mean by that?
Yourself. When something feels like it's missing, it's yourself. Okay, it's the search for yourself, your higher self. And where do we find that? We find that in the rubble of the lower self, in what we believe is the shame or the pain or the wounds. That's where we find it. And as we continue to remove those obstacles, then our higher self is what gets revealed.